let's welcome Charlie to the show right now
Let's go. Let's go.
because he's a really good guy to talk to.
Charlie.
LFG Subnet.
Yes,
welcome, buddy. How are you?
I've been waiting 2 months for this for like a year.
Yeah, I know. Like, no lie, you're probably one of the few people that remembers this. But quite honestly, we wanted to do it right. Hence, the 2 months took a little longer than 2 months, but at least we are here.
Exactly.
I'm hyped, man.
Things are looking good, man. It's the real countdown now.
Hyped and happy for you guys. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to using it. Absolutely.
And 2 to 3 months, it should be ready for you to use. Just kidding, of course.
I'll set my calendar right now.
Newer stuff now.
Well, we can kind of talk about that now, right?
Started. What's up? What was that?
We can kind of talk about that now, like what's coming in 2 months, and like we've kind of put that out there.
Can we? I mean, I was fighting to blur certain things so that we make it fun for people. But we can definitely talk about some of it at least. Let's talk about. Yeah, true. But let's talk about Charlie first.
Yes, let's talk about Charlie. I want to focus on Charlie.
Absolutely.
I'm really stoked that Charlie's here, man. I welcome again to the show, and thanks for being here. Every time we have somebody come through, I always like to get some background for our listeners, so we can get to know who we're talking to. So if you could give us like some background on you, how you got into crypto, how you got involved with JayPigs, and what's coming, we'd love to hear it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Charlie. I'm business development officer for JayPigs Finance. I have an operations management mostly background, and really, honestly, I've been into crypto at least really passively since about 2013. I really started watching and learning from folks like Max Kaiser and the old libertarians talking about it, and got involved with Ethereum just after the DAO hack, and but really just passive. I like the idea of, in the future, we're moving ever more digital. And no matter how destabilized the entire world gets, we need sound money, hard money principles, right? So that, like, look, I'll just put a little bit into it. Maybe by the time I'm 60, it's going to be worth it, right? Well, I didn't expect that in 2017 it would shoot up, and then in 2020 it shot up. But by the time it shot up in 2020, I was like, I love this idea so much. I need to get involved more actively. I need to get involved. I need to get ingrained. I need to learn more about it. I need to try and contribute in some kind of a way. So in 2020, I co-founded with a bunch of other guys, a little private investment group, a little Telegram group, and we did things in kind of a DAO type organized fashion in Discord. So that was fun learning about all of that. And yeah, we did very well. And then coming out of that in 2022, I think it was, 2022, I got asked by the founders of JayPigs if I would come along and help them meet people, set up partnerships, and just help general business development stuff. And I was like, absolutely, let's do it. I'd love to help.
I mean, awesome, we met with Charlie a long time ago at this point, probably, well, in crypto terms, of course, more than a year now, right? Like we spoke way before Dexalot actually did its C-chain launch, and we've been sort of in contact since. And one of the more grounded folks that I've actually come across in crypto, and as you can imagine, crypto is quite a place. You have all sorts of people. Sure. And Charlie has always been one of the more fun people to talk to, just because a very nice pragmatic and objective look at things, right? And also I love the story, right? Early involvement in crypto, general belief in the underlying principles over, let me jump in, ape in, and try to make maximum amount of money and all that stuff. And the first foray, I guess, was a DAO type structure, which again is quite interesting. So you said you're now with JayPigs, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what JayPigs is? I want to say, when I first heard the idea, I thought it was quite a novel approach to what I've seen, particularly in this space before. So would love to give a little bit to our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So JayPigs Finance is, and it's going to be a mouthful, but it's essentially what we're building is a cross-chain NFT non-collateralized renting marketplace. So just think, if you're long NFTs, whether it's in GameFi, Metaverse, collections with utility, whatever, you're long them, right? You collect them, whatever. Don't want to get rid of them. You want to earn yield off of them, though. Well, you can lend them out, right? Well, in the kind of systems, what we've seen, the platforms, what we've seen before, you could lend them out. People can borrow the actual asset. And that's very, very risky. You can lose your collateral like that. It's very risky. So what we're introducing is we're utilizing the ERC 4907 standard that was released in an EIP, I believe it was June, I think, in 2022. And we're taking advantage of that and leveraging Axelar Networks general message passing technology to issue these cross-chain rentals.
Do you mind talking a little bit about that standard? Because I think, that is one of the more powerful ideas I've come across, especially in the NFT space. Do you mind just giving a little bit about what the standard is changing versus the classical non-fungible standard?
Yeah, absolutely. So your typical NFT that most people are aware of, it's the ERC 721, right? Now that's a non-fungible asset. You a lot of your collections, your games, a lot of those, it's typical standard, right? Well, what the ERC 4907 does is it's an extension of that 721 standard. And essentially what it does is it offers an additional role of a user, or in our case, a renter, right? Where a renter can have an assigned address. Their wallet address can be assigned as a user, and they don't actually have control or ownership over the asset, but they do have access to the utility of the asset for a specific amount of time. And in our protocol, it's that time, those parameters, whether it's price or the expiration date, it's all set by the original lender of the original asset, the 721 or the 1155, or whichever asset you want to put into our smart contract.
Is it, I just thought of an analogy. For some reason, my brain works best in terms of analogies. Like, let's say you have an investment property, right? And you rent it to a person. They don't own it. Obviously, an investment property, it's difficult to move it around and stuff, but they don't own it, yet they live in it or they do whatever in it. And I guess it is the same idea where ownership and utilization are separated, and through programmatic means, if it's a specific game asset, you can have access as a renter to the game functions, but maybe not necessarily the transfer capability that would allow you to transfer it to a different wallet from where it is, etc. Wow. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And I think the way you described that, with the analogy of the rental property, is exactly how I try to describe it. Because, if you're long NFTs, right, you've got whatever the NFT is, doesn't matter what it is. If it's got utility, you're long, you want to hold it, you want to store it, you want to collect it, you want to keep it. You don't want to get rid of it. You don't want to trade it, right? You don't want to speculate on price in the short term or the medium term. You want to hold it. Well, the same thing works in housing, right? You're going to park your capital in either treasury bonds, housing, the stock market, or Bitcoin, right? Crypto, right? You're going to do one of those things. A lot of people go housing. That's the majority of the market, right? It's all housing. Well, why are you going to have a house and not earn yield off of it? Just going to let it sit there and collect dust and actually cost you money, right? Same thing with NFTs. Get the NFTs out, earn some yield on them. And it also allows communities and projects, games, to expand because there's less of a bottleneck around price. So the barrier to entry for new users and new players is lower dramatically.
Yeah.
And not only are you offering the users of your NFT an additional utility, which is exciting, it's interesting, it makes your project more valuable, but you're also splitting the revenue through the protocol itself anyways. So there's a lot of avenues and benefits for everybody, where all incentives are aligned.
We've actually spoken to a very good number of games on this channel. And then, of course, off channel, as a part of the Dexalot team, we have regular contact with various projects. And I want to say almost all the projects that we've spoken to in the past, just a few names, Snail Trail, Pulsar, Eldaroon, like they all have to solve the problem of, first, how to make the entry barriers to the game low.
Right.
Second, how to actually allow these assets to be utilized to the best that they can. And I guess in the solution that you're proposing and you're building, ultimately the owner will be able to set up royalties or the revenue share programmatically to allow people to utilize. So for example, if it's a game asset, they'll be able to use it in the game, and then depending on whatever value they extract, it's going to get automatically distributed.
Not exactly. No,
Not exactly.
There are some like guild models that do stuff like that, similar to that. Not necessarily using the 4907 standard, but the way we've done it, it's a lot more of a flat fee type of thing. So what a lender would do, let me walk you through the flow basically. So a lender would come along with their asset. They'll stake it into the protocol. They'll say, right, I'm happy to rent this out. Say it's worth, I don't know, 10 AVAX. Right, say that. Say I'm happy to rent it out for 0.1 AVAX every day, right? And I'm happy to lend it out for at an expiration date of say 7 days, 14 days, whatever. They set those parameters. It's then in the protocol, right? From there, it's locked. It's locked if it's rented, right? So if somebody comes along and they say, right, I'm happy to pay that 0.1 AVAX per day for X amount of days. I'm happy to do that because I'm going to use that utility within this game. And why do I want to do that? Because I don't want to pay outright the full sticker price unless I love the game, unless I really enjoy playing the game. And this is just talking about one use case, right? Now you can talk about yield and several other things and actually work out the math on things.
I can't think of a lot of use cases, but I guess this unlocks. So for example, I remember the times where a Crabata crab costs so much money that a lot of people who found out about it later were like, oh, I missed the train. I can't play this game. And I guess through your model, you're going to have a marketplace where you're going to be able to have access to the potentially very high level crab with a lot of good characteristics to the very low. And you can test out all of the experiences. Like, do you want to buy something newer, grow it, or do you want to like see what the end like the maximum possible capability looks like? And they will have different flat fees that people can participate with, huh? That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, essentially the renter is going to come and pay a flat fee, and whatever yield they earn through the game, through the protocol, that's their business. That's theirs. Whatever.
Very
they pay a flat fee. Yeah.
I mean, it creates a kind of an economy that doesn't exist, and now people with assets will have to do a little bit of work to figure out the right market for their assets. But once they do, it's very nice passive income because your assets are still programmatically secured. You don't have the risk of getting liquidated or your assets being stolen because it's built into the standard. Yes. Interesting.
Yes. Wow. And it really depends on the exact use cases that we're talking about, right? Because if we're talking about a game that you can play and you've mastered your strategy for playing the game, maybe you'll yield more playing the game and not renting it out. But however, if you would like to turn that into a passive investment and not concentrate it on so much, or maybe de-lever your risk or change your risk profile on that specific collection of your assets, you want to earn yield through renting, and then you want to also earn yield on actual in-game gameplay, there's an option. You could do either one of things, and that's all in just the game use cases. We're not even talking about billboards and metaverses or real world assets or other things.
Yeah, I was thinking about what real world asset could now benefit from being sort of tied to an NFT with this standard. And again, my mind for some reason goes to real estate, but in reality, anything that's rentable could work this way. Right? Because you set the expiration, you set the parameters, and wow, it's a pretty powerful concept. I guess.
If I could, can I just add, this is so wide. This is so wide of an area. If your asset has true inherent value, it's desirable. If it's desirable, it's rentable.
Yeah.
So you come to JayPigs and we'll rent it out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have the marketplace and the technology. So I guess I guess the one thing I'm grappling with is we have these like thousands and millions of NFTs that are already issued, right? Like there is art NFTs, there is game NFTs, there is identity NFTs. Obviously, identity probably wouldn't work with this, but like let's just focus on the game asset NFTs. How do we move from the old standard to the new standard? Like, how do we move that? Or is the value proposal here is that JPigs provides the capability to wrap and issue the appropriate standard equivalent of the same NFT so that people don't have to worry about it? Is that like the biggest value proposal?
That's what we're talking about here. Yeah. Now it is with the requirement, and obviously you're aware of this, but anybody that might not be a dev might or have some experience in it might not understand. But it depends on the game as well. It is a whitelisted solution at the moment because we require the game to.
Oh, whoops.
Charlie.
Charlie, we're losing you just a little bit.
Yeah. Last couple sentences we couldn't hear.
Oops.
No.
Oh, look at, and it froze on that face.
He got frozen in the middle of the kiss that he was blowing to.
Yeah, you were blowing us kisses.
Oh, there he is. There he's back.
Hey, there he is.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we require the game. The game has to offer it utility, right, or access utility rights to the holder of the ERC 4907. Just simple. It's a couple of lines of code. And we even offer we will be offering an SDK and API solution to where all your data and everything comes through to where games can easily integrate our solution here. Okay.
And I guess, the immediate question is this product already live? And if so, what blockchains do you support already? You said Dexalot, so go ahead.
Yeah, we are using Dexalot for the cross-chain piece. Now we can also do rentals on a monochain, right? So we don't have to use the Dexalot piece, but we utilize the Dexalot piece for the cross-chain. We love that. Currently, we just launched our testnet actually, and we launched testnet on 3 chains. That's going to be Avalanche Fuji, Polygon Mumbai, and the BNB testnet. We are integrating 2 more test nets in the coming weeks, and I won't say exactly which ones those are, but eventually the idea is to get with every single chain where there's demand for a community of any kind of NFT type. If you want us, reach out to us, we'll make it happen. If it's EVM compatible and it's already integrated into the Dexalot Spoken Hub model, then great. Easy, we can do it. So just reach out, and then the non-EVM stuff we can work on as well. But really, we're going to be using Dexalot for the cross-chain piece.
Very cool. I guess where do you see like the biggest need? Is it current? I mean, I'm going to guess that it's game assets, but what is the like the biggest vertical associated with NFTs that you think this product lands best with? Like what vertical is the ideal one that you guys are going after? Because like you said, it's so wide.
It's so wide. And really right now, games are probably the biggest vertical. Right now. We could talk about PFP collections, right? If you want to talk about volume, right? If you want to talk about monetary volume, that's one thing, right? If you want to talk about user interaction and engagement, that's another thing. User interaction and engagement, we might be talking about GameFi, metaverses. But volume, probably collections, but those collections need to have utility, because I might like my little PFP of a whatever, right? But if it doesn't have utility, true utility, and there's not value behind it, who's going to rent it?
Right.
Because you don't own it. You don't own it, right?
I mean, the interesting analogy again that I just remembered. There was a company called Rent the Runway. I bet it's still around, right? A good number of my friends used to rent like work clothes or dresses or whatever that may be. It's professionally managed. You get it for a certain amount of time. You use it for whatever event you're going to, and then you just return it. I guess PFPs would be very similar, right? A VR party or like a a digital gathering. You could rent a fashion piece that you sort of personalize with, make that your PFP or make that your avatar, whatever that may be, and it would cost you a fraction of what a expensive NFT would cost. Like I still see
good point.
Yeah, there's still pretty good use. Like it's utility in the sense that it's like a statement, and it's probably a much shorter lived utility than a game asset, because games, you end up spending a lot more attention and time, but it's still utility nevertheless. Very, very, very interesting. I guess, the guys who created the original NFT standard, in hindsight, should have thought about how this capability now exists, right? It would have been amazing if everything started with the solution, but hey, we got JPigs for that problem. So,
well, if I may add, I don't want to take credit where credit's not due. We didn't develop the 4907 standard. That was another team. But we see it and we value it, and we recognize the value in it, and we're just adding on top of it other things. Yeah.
Of course. No. That makes perfect sense. I guess if we move the conversation to a little bit more in the general direction, where do you see the NFT? Well, I guess what was the I'm a lot less in the NFT scene, if you will. Can you give us how 2022 affected the NFTs in general, at least across the verticals that you see, and what do you expect for the coming years in terms of market size and growth?
Yeah, I do have some charts somewhere. I'll try to do this off the cuff. Let's see. 2022. So I remember, let me go back in time a little bit. I remember the Mt. Gox hack, right? That's when I got involved. I didn't put much in, right? I didn't have much. I'm not rich or wealthy or anything. I'm not one of those lucky people. But I remember that, and I remember how monumental that was. And I remember just brushing it off, being like, meh, give it time. If there's true value there, if there's true actual intrinsic value in Bitcoin, it will survive. It will pummel through this. It might take time, but it's going to happen. 2022 was an onslaught of fuckery. It was just it was so much stuff happened. We don't have to go down that, right? We don't have to go down trauma road for people, right? But I was lucky. I'm quite conservative in how I plan my portfolio, and the people I message and talk to. I'm like, hey, look, watch out for this thing, watch out for that thing. I'm very conservative. So luckily, I was unfazed. But the majority of people weren't. And NFT collectors weren't. They were destroyed. You had a big NFT hype in 2021. You had a lot of celebrities hyping up NFTs.
Yeah.
Some of them were good. Some of them maybe not so good. And maybe we won't see a lot of those people back for some time. But hopefully when they come back, there's actual utility behind a lot of NFTs. GameFi has progressed. There's more and more Web2 gamers and original gamers that come into Web3 because they value owning their own assets. They value owning their own skins, and they've learned to appreciate that they can do this. But also the technology's caught up to where they can do it easily.
Sure.
And trustlessly, right? So I'm quite optimistic, man. I'm quite optimistic about NFTs, and I could sit here and throw out a couple of figures, but it's a crystal ball type of thing, right?
Yeah, of course. No, I completely get it. The interesting thing that I always think about NFTs is, so cryptos was the first hit, right? Bitcoin, and then a bunch of tokens until Ethereum, and then a bunch of tokens. Even though NFTs, non-fungibles, did exist, also fairly early on, they didn't gain that sort of steam for a little while. I almost want to say there are like two offset adoption curves where the NFTs are like a cycle or two behind because it was a new thing in the previous cycle. People got hyped about it. They were like, oh, look at this new thing, cool art, stuff that you can own. And like you said, there was a massive uptick in degen activity rather than, a push for real utility creation. And you alluded to this, right, as well, right? Like, yeah. I was talking to a dear friend of mine a couple of days ago, just in the state of capital markets for funding, state of projects that raised capital in the previous cycle, etc. And he said, ignore all the noise for a second and remember, building a product that actually works, that actually covers 99% use case. It's very difficult to do exactly 100, but 99% use case with efficiency, with good UX, with good intentions. It takes a long time. Building takes a long time. You definitely have bumps. Like, it's never a straight line. It's never a linear line. It's always a bumpy road, but it takes time. And I think, NFTs very much the same path, right? Particularly with tools or with solutions like yours. I think, those are the things that need to be in place for NFTs, because, like, if I can try out before committing, just like renting a house or renting a car or renting whatever, that's a significant milestone for adoption. Because if I can try out, figure out what it's like, whether it's a feeling or whether it's owning, whatever, like, I'm going to be a lot more willing to expend the capital.
I kind of have a question for you guys, though. And sorry to interrupt, but just from a branding perspective, I just wanted to get both of your perspectives since we're talking about this, because obviously, Charlie, what you said, I mean, NFT holders, collection holders lost their ass. I mean, they got screwed. Do you feel like going forward, there's going to be any kind of, or need to be any kind of like rebrand just to like NFTs in general? Or do you think it's going to like stay the path kind of the way crypto has? Because I see people saying sometimes like maybe we should call these collectible avatars instead of NFTs to like distance ourselves from any kind of like, potty mouth NFT. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'd love to get both your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think people have been talking shit about Bitcoin for a long time.
Right. And we'll just leave it there.
It's very similar.
But to add on just a little bit, like, I do get the psychology behind it, right? Like,
sure,
there's certain words that will trigger emotional responses in people, right? And for anybody that was impacted by the 2021 and 2022 cycle, they're going to be emotionally impacted. And what I think as professionals in this space, I think we need to deliver truth. We need to deliver a clear understanding of what exactly this scam was. It's not the technology. The technology is amazing. It's verified digital ownership. NFTs are great.
Yes.
It's the NFTs that were hyped up by people with no actual utility, and they just got you on a hype train. Well, here, look at the market cycle chart. Now, once you've learned about a market cycle chart, now watch a commercial on television. When you watch a commercial on television, you see a market cycle chart, and you understand, you put two and two together, you start to see where the faults are, right? But as long as we come out and say, hey, look, NFTs are great, we can call them whatever we want, right? You come up with a new term.
Yeah.
OGs are still going to call them NFTs.
Yep.
And people that got wrecked by them are still going to call them NFTs because they got wrecked by them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the way I sort of take that is, yes, there is a good number of people, and now CNBC, Bloomberg, New York Times, whatever you name it, who are like, oh, as we predicted, crypto is bad, NFTs are bad, whatever. Like, it makes great headlines, right? Unfortunately, at the expense of these early adopters, like, a lot of people came in for the degen yields or ability to buy something for half an AVAX and being able to like flip it for 5. Sure. Right.
Yeah.
But in the end, these are the early people that try things. And my opinion is that they represent a tiny fraction of the total addressable market.
Sure.
Right. The total addressable market will start trickling in, like the larger remaining amount, I'm saying, when, you have well understood, well established capability of trying things out, just like JayPigs provides it, right? Well understood, well established access to the utility, whatever that utility may be. Like, I hold an NFT, it gives me access to a, coffee shop specifically for like-minded people. I just made that up, right? Once those real-world use cases that are akin to what I'm using today appear, is when the big market is going to come, and the folks who unfortunately suffered, I think, yes, they're going to be slower to adopt it again, but they'll ultimately come back. I think, like, with all these new things, the people who scam are the folks that are just, taking advantage of the moment, and those are just growing pains, unfortunately.
But obviously, what? Yeah. Can I just add here? Like, of course, a lot of people say, "Oh, crypto's a scam. Crypto's full of scam," and I tell people, "Yo, 99% of crypto probably is a scam, if we're being honest.
Right.
But there are some amazing technological features here that are the innovations of technology, right? Of financial technology. Don't think that those are a scam. Look
Agreed.
into it and start. If you're a newcomer, start with Bitcoin, and then go to Ethereum and work your way down and get out of the hyped up. If you hear hype about it,
Absolutely.
ignore it. You know,
I mean, as folks in the space, our biggest job is exactly what you said. Like, you'll come across folks who heard stuff on CNBC or who read an article, who read this and that, right, and they'll come to you with hyped up or opinions that they've sort of adopted. And our job is to put doubt in their minds, right? It's not like you can convert a lot of people to understand what the tech is about, but if you can just plant that seed of doubt, just like Inception, right? That movie, just put that idea in their head and make them curious. That's all we need to do. That's kind of how I look at it. Because yes, you have a lot of haters, right?
Yes.
And think about this. Think about this though. So say 4 years down the line, 3 years down the line, something like that. Most people have a wallet on their phone, right?
Right.
We'll leave it at that, right? But inside that wallet, they might have a season pass to their favorite NFL team or their favorite sports team or their favorite, rock artist or whoever, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what happens when you're not going to make it to a game, but you easily, within a click of a button, have a way you can offer that to an open market of renters?
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah,
absolutely.
And if that's in every single phone, and you still only have 1% of the total addressable market, still that's innovation. That's innovation. That's adoption, and that's what we're going for, right? And that's only one vertical.
Absolutely.
That's what's
fully agreed, man. I'm quite excited.
Definitely.
I love this product, honestly, and I'm rooting for you guys.
Definitely, man. We are running a little low on time, so I wanted to open things up. Chat, if you have any questions for Charlie, drop them in there right now. I have a couple before the chat replies. First thing is, will you come back and talk to us again? We'd love to have you back to talk. I mean, this has been another one of those. This is like, Charlie, you don't understand, man. Like 4 weeks in a row. It's like we've started talking to our guests and it's felt like 10 minutes have gone by. So we would really love it if you would come back and talk to us again about everything that's going on at JayPigs. And it's just been a really fun conversation for us. Can we have you come back? Awesome. That's what's up. Okay. Second question. I'm going to play some music at the end of the show. I get a request from all of our guests, and we forgot to talk about that. I forgot to talk to you about this in our sound check. So give it some thought. We've got some time before the end of the show. I don't need to put you on the spot right now. You can think about it. But if you have one for me right now, I'll take it. You can send your request to our producer, John. What's up? What do you got? I got crates and crates. I got songs for days. Genre, be damned.
I'll tell you what. I am an old school rock and metal fan. Right now, I don't think either one of those. I don't know if either one of those really remix real well. But if I pick the genre, pull it out of your hat, man. Just go for it.
Let's go, man. I got you. I mean, let's see. I mean, I have so much rock. I mean, if you want to name an artist, like who's your favorite artist?
Ooh, what genre though? Are we feeling metal?
Well, you were saying rock and metal. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're like, let's see.
I see Firestorm smiling over there.
I do a little bit of everything. Let's say, like most of my zoning and doing work aggressively music is metal, actually.
Yes, he's a metal kid. We were talking about last week how there's a meme where like when you're 14, there's like one path that leads down to rap and one path that leads to metal, and it's like every 14-year-old makes that choice. I chose rap, and Firestorm chose metal, and so we were but it's like I was a career DJ. I was a DJ for like 20 years, and I know about any song you can think of. I've probably heard all the songs except for like 3 of them. So
I'll tell you what, give me some Tool, or give me some Rammstein, or if you could find like a fast AC/DC, give me.
Oh my God, I was gonna see, Charlie. This is perfect. I was gonna say, how do you feel about AC/DC? That was the original question I was gonna ask you. because I was like, because I love AC/DC. So okay, we'll throw some AC/DC on as soon as we start the music.
Can I suggest a song?
Of course.
Big Gun, bro. Let's go.
Oh my God. Is that the one from that's the Last Action Hero soundtrack?
Yeah, it is. If I remember, it was either Schwarzenegger or Stallone, right?
Yeah.
Like in one of the movies, I forget which.
That is an extremely underrated Schwarzenegger movie, guys. Last Action Hero.
Oh yeah. Last Action Hero is the movie. Yes.
Last Action Hero. That's a banger of a movie, man. Very underrated Schwarzenegger movie, in my opinion. Anyway,
he's done Terminator and like whatever else, right? Like,
yeah, it's tough when you're Arnie, man. But so chat, one more chance of questions, and then we got to let Charlie go. But
I'll tell you what, if there's no questions, can I just say,
yes, please.
For any of the Avalanche GameFi projects, or even if you're a dev or just a user, just a player, hey, come into the JayPigs community, talk to us, talk to the teams about renting, see what they're doing about renting. Because a lot of teams are going to be building their own rental solutions. They're going to spend dev time doing that. Right. They might not be cross-chain. They might not have the same security guarantees. It might not be the same modeling. But talk to them and talk to them to talk to us. So come find us because we're launching on all kinds of chains, and mainnet is only a couple of months away. We're launching on all kinds of chains, and we're really opening up. And we didn't even talk about the cross-chain aspect here because there's some really interesting cross-chain aspects. Maybe we'll talk about that next time.
Next time.
But yeah, just reach out to us. Say what's up.
You guys heard it here first, man. Charlie is a very accessible guy, so reach out to the JayPigs team. And Charlie, it's been awesome having you on the show, man. I had a blast talking to you.
Man. We appreciate
my
it.
pleasure.
I'm gonna drop some AC/DC for you in a few minutes.
Let's go.
I'm gonna jam in the chat, man. I'm gonna be listening to it.
I love it, man. I love it. Thanks again for being here, guys. Right. Charlie from JayPigs. Shout out to JayPigs for being in the chat and joining the show. We will see you next time, Charlie. Thanks so much.